Hello YouTube, this is Veteran Mountain Man coming to you today to discuss with you a video done by Diary of a Modern Caveman. Now earlier this week he did a video in support of Calexit and the Sanctuary City bill that California had passed, putting basically effectively making California a sanctuary state. Now I listened to his points, and I get where he's coming from. I mean, realistically, California is one of the biggest drains on the American economy, even though their economy is the sixth largest in the world, if you look at them as their own independent country. But part of the problem is that California absorbs a huge amount of federal welfare, far more than it provides into the federal system in taxes. Because the wealth disparity in California is huge. Huge. You have got basically the absolute bottom of the barrel and then the absolute wealthy of the wealthy. And there's not a whole lot of in between. Well, let's look at why that is. Well, your effective tax rate in the state of California, if you make more than $60,000 a year, is effectively 45%, not including property taxes or anything else. If you make more than $150,000 a year, this is as an individual, your effective tax rate is 50%. And if you make more than $250,000 a year, your effective tax rate is 55%. 55. So, California has some of the highest taxes in America. And you get nothing for them for the most part. Why? Because it's already being consumed by the lowest of the low, the people who are on welfare. They are absorbing all of this and a whole lot more that is coming in from the federal government to pay for the welfare cases in California. And it's not just California that this is going on, it's the entire West Coast. Because we actually have roving groups of homeless that rove from Seattle, Washington, to Los Angeles, and back. And they do it based on the seasons. So they spend their summer in Seattle, and they spend their winter in LA. Yes, you heard me right, people. In fact, the city of Portland has a place called Right to Dream 2. It is a permanent homeless camp. It is in a warehouse in the city of Portland that the city leases to put the homeless people that are camping in there on top of the 53 shelters in the Portland metro area. That is on top of these things. The West Coast, up and down the I-5 corridor, has some of the highest levels of homelessness because it's been made easy to be homeless. So that's the first problem with Calexit, is that California won't realistically do it because they would lose the U.S. welfare that they get from the federal government. Second, if they did decide to pull the plug on this realistically, because of the mass migration out of California into Oregon and Washington, and to some extent Nevada, you wouldn't necessarily just see a California exit. It would probably be a combination. Realistically, I would expect Oregon to possibly go with California, and Washington to at least attempt it, maybe succeed, maybe not, and Nevada to at least attempt it. Nevada probably would not succeed. Washington, it's kind of a toss-up. Oregon would definitely go with California as long as Oregon got the votes together, because Oregon pretty much does whatever California did, and sometimes tries to do it first when California's talking about it. So that would be how I would see that. Now, as for the water issues, well, here's where you guys, especially like you, Modern Caveman, would make out like bandits. Because as long as Nevada didn't go, and as long as Arizona didn't go, then all of the water that California had been stealing from Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah, those water treaties would be null and void because California would be its own independent country then, and that would require a treaty with the federal government and not a treaty with individual states. So all of those water rights would have to be completely renegotiated again from scratch, and you could definitely push to have more favorable outcomes for those states that were losing their water to the state of California. Now, also something that I wanted to bring up is that as things currently stand, yes, California has that nasty 3 strikes law. And many felons who have gotten 2 strikes flee California to other cities and states and then get their 3rd strike because they don't change their ways. And because they're not in California, that 3rd strike realistically doesn't count under California law. So it's not going to really matter. Now, that being said, I don't think that it would be a bad thing to see a Calexit. And if Oregon did go with, I definitely would be heading east before the whole thing kicked off, with probably a caravan of about 100 people behind me. Because most of us are far too conservative and small r Republican to be willing to live in a new communist state. Because if California and Oregon and even Washington broke off from the rest of the United States, it would immediately become a socialist country. Because there are too many socialists on the West Coast already for it not to be. So, that was it. Other than that, I think you did a really good video there, Caveman, and I want to thank you for looking at this topic. Please don't feel that this is criticism. It's actually just I wanted to bring some ideas up that maybe you hadn't thought about. And I want to endorse, once again, your channel, A Diary of a Modern Caveman, and ask all of my subscribers who have not gone over there and already looked at some of your content, I urge them to go, because you are probably one of the best YouTubers I have seen. If you're unfamiliar with his channel, it's A Diary of a Modern Caveman. I will include a link in the description below, which will also be, I will also include a link to the original video that I'm responding to, as well as links to my Minds.com account and VidMe account so that people can get in touch with me there if they would prefer. Thank you all again, and have yourselves a good day.